Okay, we're good.
Good evening. I hereby call the regular meeting of the Administrative Appeals Board of March 19th, 2025 to order. Board Secretary, please conduct the roll call.
Board Member Hein.
Here.
Board Member Corrin.
Here.
Vice Chair Parker.
Here.
and Chair Basili.
Here.
And Board Member Herman is absent. Thank you.
Our next item is the acceptance of the agenda. The board can discuss and may amend the order of the agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion and a second for acceptance of the agenda.
I move that we accept.
Second.
Board Secretary, please take the vote.
Board Member Hein.
Aye.
Board Member Corrin.
Aye.
Vice Chair Parker.
Aye.
Chair Basili.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Great, thank you. The next item is public comment. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the board on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. 3 minutes will be assigned to each speaker. Although the board values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, the board generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Testimony for hearings will only be taken at the time of the hearing. Board Secretary, please begin the public comment period.
There are no registered speakers at this time.
Okay, great, thank you. Next is item number 4 concerning the property at 3149 East Ventura Road. It's an appeal of the $10,000 administrative decision that Armin Karakosan is permanently ineligible to operate a vacation rental in the city of Palm Springs. Board Secretary, can you please ensure that the city staff and the appellant understand that their testimony is under oath?
We do have signed affidavits from city staff and appellant. Anyone on Zoom who desires to testify under this appeal hearing under the laws of perjury, if you choose to speak, you hereby accept and acknowledge that your testimony shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. Staff, can you please present your report?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, board members. My name is Patrick Clifford with the Department of Special Program Compliance, and we oversee the vacation rental program here in the city of Palm Springs. Before you is a staff report for the property located at 3149 East Ventura Road. Background on this property previously had a vacation rental certificate, number 4048, which was suspended for 2 years starting February 20th, 2024. On March 23rd, 2023, a citation AB0500 was issued for operating without a valid registration. No appeal or payment was received. On August 17th, 2023, a closure request was received by the Department of Special Program Compliance, and that closure request was submitted to close the transient tax permit and the registration certificate for the vacation rental. And on January 29th, 2025, AB 0754 was issued for operating without a registration certificate. Despite the suspension and the closure letter that was received, the property was advertised and operated as a vacation rental on Airbnb. A code compliance officer confirmed availability for a 13-night stay, providing evidence of continued operation in violation of Palm Springs Municipal Code 5.25040A. This led to the issuance of citation AB 0754 and the $10,000 fine. The citation was mailed to the address on file, certified, and was received on February 5th, 2025 at 1:11 p.m. by an individual. That concludes my testimony. I do have the code supervisor, Nabhan, here to provide further details on what led to the issuance of the citation, and then we are available for any additional questions that you may have. I do just want to clarify, I think I mentioned that the suspension ended February 20th, 2024. That was actually February 20th, 2025. My apologies. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening, Chair, members of the board, my fellow city staff, and members of the public joining us for this evening's hearing. My name is Mitch Nabhan. I'm the Code Compliance Supervisor for the City of Palm Springs, and I oversee, among other things, our city's vacation rental enforcement program. On Saturday, January 25th, 2025, while conducting a review of available rental listings on the web-based booking platform Airbnb.com, Officer Jean-Marie Keogh came across an advertisement in the Gene Autry neighborhood of Palm Springs titled 4-bedroom Palm Springs pool / jacuzzi home with no occupancy tax, which can be found as attachment number 8, beginning on page 39 in the staff report. While reviewing the advertisement, it stated that the entire 4-bedroom home was being offered for up to 8 guests with a 13-night minimum stay per the booking calendar, a copy of which is shown on page 40 of the staff report. Officer Keogh reviewed the photos included in the advertisement and was able to confirm the property address as 3149 East Ventura Road. Additionally, the listing contained a city ID number in the About This Space section. Upon reviewing the city's vacation rental registration records, it was verified that the property does not hold an active vacation rental registration certificate, as its permit status associated with that city ID number was marked as canceled as of August 2023. Further investigation into the property's history revealed that it had previously held a short-term vacation rental permit until it was suspended for 2 years, effective February 20th, 2023, due to receiving 3 citations within 12 months. During the suspension, this property was found to be continuing short-term rental operations in violation of our city's vacation rental program. As a result, the property owner was issued an administrative citation on March 22nd, 2023 by Code Officer Jonathan Ingram for a first violation for operating a vacation rental without a valid vacation rental registration certificate, with penalties that included permanent ineligibility to the owner, resulting in the cancellation of that permit. Officer Keogh then sent a message via the Airbnb.com contact host feature, which can be found in attachment number 9, beginning on page 65, requesting a 13-night stay, arriving Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, and departing Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. The message stated, "Hi, Renee, my hubby and I are trying to plan a group vacation on the dates of 4/23/2025 through 5/6/2025. I'm looking into golf in the area and how far your place is from the airport. Do these dates work for you? ? Thanks so much, Marie." The host, Renee, responded to that inquiry with the following unique response. "Hello, Marie. Thank you for your interest in my house. Thank you for letting me know about your trip. It's 2.9 miles away from the Palm Springs Airport, about 8 minutes away. Yes, those dates are available. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you, Renee." Subsequently, after receiving this message from the host, an invitation to book the property was extended from Renee for the requested 13-night stay of April 23rd, 2025 through May 6th, 2025. For those joining us that may be unfamiliar with our city's vacation rental ordinance, our city's definition of operation of a vacation rental, as applied in Chapter 525, includes but is not limited to any one or more of the following. Number 1, advertisement of the property means on any web-based advertising, hosting platform, print media, bulletins, signage, radio, and television, or on any other medium for the purposes of promoting interest in, testing the market for, or soliciting the occupancy of a property for a period of 28 consecutive days or less. Number 2, an owner, agent, or other representative of the owner has an interest in rental, exchange, trade, gift, or grant of a guest stay at a property of less than 28 consecutive days or less. And number 3, an owner, agent, or any other representative of the owner interacts with another party, whether directly or indirectly through personal or digital electronic contact, with the intent to provide availability of the property for occupancy of 28 days or less, or to complete a rental and or reservation of the property for future occupancy of 28 days or less. As a result of Officer Keogh's findings contained within the advertisement, which was promoting interest in and soliciting the occupancy of the property for a period of 28 consecutive days or less, the unique response to her inquiry, as well as the host's invitation to book the requested 13-night stay demonstrating intent to provide availability of the property's occupancy of 28 days or less, we found that the property located at 3149 East Ventura Road was in violation of PSMC 525-040A, operating a vacation rental without a vacation rental registration certificate, and issued an administrative citation to the property owner on tile, Armene Karakosian. Additionally, I have printed and provided additional documents for reference tonight. One of these documents includes a message received via Airbnb from the host, Renee, on February 5th at 1:37 p.m. And that message states, "Thank you for your interest in my house, but it looks like my house manager approved this reservation by mistake. This property is a minimum 28-day rental. Please let me know if that's something you would be interested in. Sorry for the inconvenience, but we won't be able to accept this request for those many days." Upon reviewing the certified mailing status tracker on the United States Postal Service website, I confirmed that the notice of violation letter and citation, which were sent via certified mail, was delivered to an individual at the property owner's mailing address on February 5th at 1:11 p.m. I believe that's highlighted on the reference materials. This timeline suggests that the property owner received the citation and notice and then promptly logged into their Airbnb account to revise their stance on the rental, seemingly in an effort to retroactively align with compliance and avoid enforcement action because they likely realized that they had been caught approximately 11 days prior. So that will conclude my testimony, but I am available to answer any questions the board may have. We also have Officer Keogh in the gallery. If there are specific questions that you have for her, she is available. So I'll hand it back over to Patrick. Thanks.
Thank you, and no further testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I have just a couple. After the original permit cancellation, did we ever hear, I know there was no appeal filed, did we ever hear from the property owner?
Not to my knowledge, there is a good amount of time between that closure and the second citation that was issued. It's been almost 2 years. In office, we knew that the property was closed. I think at one point that the property may have been up for sale, but never really had any direct conversation with the owner from that point.
Okay, and then the request to close the TOT account, which came a little later, which came much later, I think, that I obviously assume would be the owner of the property, would be where the request comes from, right?
Yeah, the closure request came on August 17th, 2023. That's a few months after the very first citation that was issued while they were operating during suspension. And the reason on the closure letter that we received was because the license was suspended. But between that period, our code team did find that the property was operating during the suspension as well and issued the first citation.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
So just a quick question for clarification, because I'm looking at the documentation that the city provided to us in the packet. So it says the effective date of cancellation is 01/01/23, and yet was that a mistake? It's on page 33, item number 4. That's the request to close the permit.
Yeah, that is the date that was supplied by the owner at that time. Reasons being, I could only speculate. Sometimes they would put that date so they're not required to submit transient occupancy tax for the time period. If they would have closed on August, we would have asked for the remaining tax returns for that period. But that might be the effective date on the 1st, is that's the reason why.
Oh, okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Is there any other questions from the board? Okay. Then at this time, I'd like to open the appeal hearing. To the appellant is invited to speak up to 10 minutes. Any members of the public who desire to speak on the appeal hearing shall have 3 minutes to speak. If any member of the public testifies, the appellant will be invited to provide a rebuttal for up to 2 additional minutes. Board Secretary, is the appellant here?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Could you please let us know your name, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Armine Kirakosian.
Okay. So your 10 minutes starts now, if you'd like to speak.
Yes, just want to say thank you for the time that you guys provided. I'd like to address many factors. I know what's been passed in the past. Everybody makes mistakes, and we learn from our mistakes, and that's where everything was closed. And I've provided all my documentations of the proof of what's been happening for the past 2 years. Yes, it's been tough, but I've managed to get over monthly rentals, numerous monthly rentals, that has sustained me from, covering all my expenses on my house over 28 days and more, like they're 30 days, 30, 45 days, so forth and so on. Now, the mistake that occurred in my documentation of all my paperwork that I've submitted today, I don't know if you guys all had a chance to look at all that. You could see all the transactions that's occurred of different people that have, hosted previously or currently hosting, that again have a long stay of longevity of time. Now, the main concern that we're here is on January 27th is when a message did come to my Airbnb. Unfortunately, on that day, we were leaving to Big Sur for family vacation. I did give access to my sister-in-law to have her go ahead and go, through my Airbnb messages. We had no cell service at Big Sur. I don't know if anyone has been there. There's no cell service unless we have to climb up all the way to the mountain. With that being said, I was never aware of any of these messages until we came home. Still did not look at it. She's been handling it. She was fine until we did get the notification. And then when I did get the certified mail, when I did see the Airbnb messages, I did see that this was wrong. It was supposed to be 31 days and it says 13 days. That's why I messaged the customer, hey, by the way, this wasn't supposed to be this. I did speak to my sister-in-law of the situation. She did inform me that about 2 years ago, she's been going through a lot of stress after COVID and after everything else. There's been a lot of things happening in her health, and she's been diagnosed, which the family members are not aware of. She's been diagnosed with dyslexia. And when I did inform her, she said, I'm just so sorry. I have no words to say. The best thing I could do is go ahead. This is my doctor. I've been talking to her all this time, all these years. She's aware of my situation. This is what happened. And like I said, I've had no intent. I was going to be able to get my license within 3 weeks later. I had no intent of doing a short term. Why would I do this after 2 years of not being able to do it? And now I do it just before. It does not make sense. It was not intentional. It was completely a medical issue that occurred. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, any other comments right now?
I mean, again, it was completely a medical mistake that's, completely stated by the doctor that was provided the letter. We were out of town. You have the receipt that we were at Big Sur. I wish there was something to do with it, but like I said, it was 3 weeks before I'm about to get my license, and this shouldn't be happening. I mean, 2 years I've survived with no license, and I don't advertise as a short term. It's completely stated 28 days or more. I don't know how this 31 came from 13 to 31, and that all makes sense. Even the minimum days from the 13 to 31, I said, I don't even want 28 days. I want longer longevity of people. I've come to a realization, honestly, I wasn't even thinking. I thought my renewal was in June, because it's been such a more successful doing long term than instead of short term, that it's just more beneficial in the long run. Less complaints. No one has to go out there. I don't have to file no TOTs. There's no tax. My neighbors are happy with it. Everyone is happy.
Okay, thank you. At this time, are there any questions from the board to the appellant?
I have a few questions. Thank you for your testimony. I'm not sure I'm clear on the 13-day minimum is what was posted on the Airbnb page. And I'm not clear, was it your sister-in-law?
Yes. And again, we wiggle around the date where, it constantly gives us more views. We change the numbers. It's all numbers. It's a number game. So unfortunately, that 13 became to 31. It was supposed to be 31, and it just, everything. That's how the whole mess started.
Okay. My next question is, you did provide the board with some documents from some renters who, as you say, were longer-term tenants of 30 to 45 days. I believe it's on page 1 of item 4. And you've reproduced, apparently from an Airbnb record that's available to a host. You can print out information about past renters or prospective renters. Is that where you got this information?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm able to do all that, yes.
Okay. And how soon after a person rents from you is this information available to you? Is this documentation available to you?
Right away.
Okay, so I'm curious about a couple things, because according to page 43 of the city report, we have a renter named Kenneth who was a renter in December of '24, and another renter named Bill who rented
Yes.
in March of '24, but I don't see any documentation of those renters. Did you provide those?
I did. I had Bill on there. Kenneth, I'm not sure if Kenneth was on there. Like I said, I honestly, I even messaged Cassandra thinking I wasn't able to get the paperwork sometime because the scheduling was within less than a week. I was trying to get the paperwork from the psychologist, which was my main concern, actually. So that was let me just get you guys all this to show that, look, I've been doing like my part on making sure it's more than 28 days. So, I'm trying to see, you're saying Kenneth you were looking for?
Yeah, the most recent person on, from December of
Yeah, it's you actually.
2024.
No? Let me just look for that.
It was a group trip, and I'm just curious as to how long his stay was, because it's not in the materials that you provided us.
Wait 1 second. I'm looking at the app while we're speaking, ma'am. I'm so sorry. He's a 28-day rental, ma'am.
28 days.
Yes.
Okay. And thank you. And then how long, for how long did your ad on Airbnb indicate a 13-day minimum rental when you say you intended it to say 31 days?
I never intended that. Like I said, we changed around the numbers more like the pricing and stuff, and that 13 should have never been there. Should have always been 31. I'm not sure the exact time frame, but I didn't get any more inquiries. It was just that one inquiry that I did receive.
Okay, so you don't know how long the advertisement stated that it had a 13-day minimum rental?
It shouldn't have been more than a week or two. It should not have been. I don't know the exact time frame, just being honest. Because she did it, and I don't know when. It doesn't tell us when we change things. It does not tell us when exactly, has a record, this date you changed this many days or this pricing or anything else.
Okay, and I'm trying to understand why you would change the minimum if you told the person in this case who wanted to book for 13 days, you said, but it's a minimum 28-day,
Right.
But now you're telling us that it should have indicated a 31-day minimum. I'm just trying to...
Some time frames, like I said, we have hotter vacation times, like March right now is really booming, February is really booming. I asked for a longer time frame. And again, different timeframes, like for instance, like July and August, it's really hot. No one wants to come to Palm Springs, so I have it at 28 days.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry for the confusion. Sorry, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead, Chair.
I have a question. Even if your intent was sort of long-term rentals, why would you have the old permit number in there, which is a short-term rental permit?
I
on the-
totally
on the
forgot.
Airbnb
I
ad?
had no idea I was even on there until you guys just brought it up. And I will definitely, that's the first thing I'm going to go out there and remove. I apologize for that. I had no idea I was on there. It's been there since to make sure I don't get a ticket for that, but I totally forgot to take it off.
Because I believe, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but I believe that long-term rentals, you don't need a permit.
No.
So, okay.
Again, a completely mistake on my behalf. I totally forgot to take it off from way it was before.
Okay. And is Renee your sister-in-law?
No, Renee, I go by Renee because
Oh,
most
okay.
people.
You're Renee,
Renee.
okay.
Yeah, our Renee.
Okay, because I saw some references to Renee, and you.
Yeah, in the beginning, yeah, I changed this. I said, makes the guests easier when we talk to them and call them because they are long-term, so we get to talk to them a lot. This happens and that happens, so we communicate a lot, so.
Right. No,
Trying to pronounce Renee is
I-
difficult.
I get that, but I was curious why if your testimony is that your sister-in-law is the one that was managing this for you and she transposed the numbers, why some of the reviews would reference Renee?
It's all under Renee because I changed the name to Renee. On my Airbnb, it says Renee.
Oh, so your sister-in-law is doing it under your name?
Yes. As just a temporary sake. It was just for that time period because I wasn't here and I had no cell service.
Oh, okay. And then one last thing, I think you just testified that Kenneth was for 28 days. I think that
I'm trying to find that one actually, and I'm sorry. That's what
I think that in order to be long-term rental, it has to be 29 days or more. So that would have been a violation anyway for Kenneth's rental. Just pointing it out. Okay, I don't have any further questions.
Okay. No other questions? All right. Well, now, Board Secretary, are there any public commenters?
There are no speakers at this time.
Okay. We'll now close the public hearing, and next I'll open it up for discussion and additional questions to the board.
So from my standpoint, I guess I can see how this could happen with the appellant's testimony about the transposition of numbers between 31 and 13. I don't understand the magic of 31, though, given that we heard some 28s and some other sort of days that were in there. But I think at the end of the day, the responsibility is still the owner. It's still the owner's responsibility to police this and make sure that it's being done correctly and that the property is being rented out. And that goes all the way to the fact that the old permit number was still on the ad. So in my opinion, I don't think there's really any room for overturning the city's action.
Okay. Any other comment from the board?
Yeah, I sort of come out the same way, and here's the thing, and I feel for people when they make mistakes like this. Everybody makes mistakes, and the timing here, and your sister, and her dyslexia, and your camping trip, and all those things. But even when all that is true, the fact is that a mistake does not excuse a violation of the ordinance. Even if it's a good faith mistake, the law does not depend on intent. And so I have to agree that this is a clear violation without really much question. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment? I have to agree with you both regarding this, is that unfortunately, it is a violation, and it's pretty clear cut that there's a responsibility, and you can't push the responsibility onto anyone else. So I would like to ask for a motion on this.
I move that we uphold the violation and associated fine.
Second.
Okay. Board Secretary, can you take the vote?
I'm sorry, to clarify, the motion was by Vice Chair Parker and the second was by Board Member Hein?
Correct.
Okay. Board Member Hein?
Aye.
Board Member Corrin? Vice Chair Parker?
Aye.
Chair Vasili?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
The appellant still on? Okay. So the city will be in contact with you regarding the fine, and thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Okay. Next item, number 5. This portion of the meeting is set aside for the board to discuss and approve ordinance updates from the subcommittee members and legal. And I believe our city council is going to comment on that. Abe?
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
So what you have today in front of you is, we took the subcommittee's recommendations, and I was requested to draft language to actually, that the subcommittee could actually recommend to the city council. Obviously, the city council can adopt, can make tweaks to the language, but this is an effort just to put the subcommittee's recommendations into actual language for you all to review. And so I think the intent, and Vice Chair Parker can address more, but I believe the intent was for the full board to review the proposed language, see if you have any changes are necessary. And if so, I can take it back and revise it before we bring it forward for recommendation to the council. Otherwise, if you believe it's good to go, you could approve recommending it to the council at this time.
Would you, Abe, can you, I am guilty of not having an opportunity to go through this tooth and nail yet. Would you mind maybe pointing out the parts that you adjusted?
Yeah, so I realize, I believe the way that I submitted it to the city clerk's office was in a red line, and I don't think the red lines came out.
Did it?
I was noticing today. I'll point out though where the edits are,
Okay,
so that you can see some of the changes.
Okay.
Let me go through this. So,
version it was, I didn't get a
point out
chance
the
to read it.
first revision. So one of the first revisions is in the definition section, which is section 5.25.030. It adds a definition for what refers to a property rental planning document. And this is relevant to the board subcommittee's recommendation that the city be required to provide this type of document, and that escrow and title companies provide that to new and successor owners upon changes of ownership of property if there's an intended vacation rental to be on that property. So that's one change. That's a relatively minor change. The other more significant changes are in in section 5.25.090 of the proposed ordinance. I say that because currently 090 is the violation section. In that section is where you'll see language implementing the subcommittee's recommendations that property management companies register with the city, that they agree to abide by the terms of the chapter, and that allows a vacation rental property owner to designate their rental unit as either subject to owner management or agent management, If a property owner designates their rental unit as subject to agent management, then additional requirements apply as specified in subdivision C. That includes that the property owner must provide an affidavit signed by the property management company to affirm that they are actually managing the company and they're aware of the requirements of the chapter. A requirement that prior to placing any advertisement, that management company ensure that it obtains a copy of a valid and current short-term vacation rental registration certificate for the unit from the property owner. And that if a company advertises a unit that is not licensed or is not otherwise operated in full compliance with the requirements of the chapter, then the company itself will be subject to certain fines and penalties that are set forth in the following section. Which brings me to the violation section here, where you'll see the revisions are made is to add a new subdivision E, which relates to the fines and penalties that will be imposed on a property management company that manages a vacation rental. Per the subcommittee's recommendations, the property management companies will be liable for $2,500 for a first violation, $5,000 for a second violation, and $5,000 for a third and any subsequent violation. And the language here makes clear that these fines are in addition to the fines and penalties imposed pursuant to subdivision C, which relates to the fines imposed on the property owners. And then aside from that, you'll see there's another section added here, 5.25.110, which relates to additional city obligations. One of those is to develop and conduct an outreach program with the Realtors Multiple Listing Service that includes guidance on certain components of the chapter and the application process for vacation rentals, and for the city to conduct public announcements regarding the legal requirements for vacation rentals. And that is the language that we've drafted. Of course, if you have any feedback or comments, I'm happy to take that back and bring new language forward for your consideration at the next meeting.
Thank you for pointing those out. That was helpful. The stipulation of, I can't remember how we stated it in the memo. I think it was, benefits, which was having folks that didn't have a violation stick with 36 instead of 20-something. That's not in the code, right? That's a matter of process.
That isn't here. Sorry, I forgot to go over that piece of it. That is in. So one thing that was unclear was right now, currently, that limitation kicks in for existing permittees. And so let me find the section
See what it is in the language.
that it relates to so I can show you. So this is in section 5.25.070. The existing language says for existing permittees, the 32 plus 4 contract limitation above shall be reduced to 26 on January 1, 2026. That's where it ends. The language that I added pursuant to the subcommittee's recommendation is this clause after that, which says, provided, however, that no such reduction shall be applied against existing permittees that have not been subject to any violation within the previous 12 months. So that's was how we implemented it. With respect to new permittees, that applies regardless of the January 1st, 2026 kick-in date. So I'm not sure if the subcommittee wants to also extend that to new permittees where they would also be allowed to have those 36, or what the subcommittee or the board would like to do with respect to that, with respect to new permittees.
I don't know that we even addressed that, did we?
No, we didn't address it because we were told as of January that
It was changing anyway.
that it was changing anyway, so we didn't address that. We were going to leave that. We were only making the benefit to the existing short-term rental holders at this time. As long as they didn't have any violations, we were going to allow them to keep that 32 days. That's what we were recommending. And so we weren't addressing any new regulations coming down after that for new applications.
The language as drafted would apply just to the existing permittees.
And I did get a chance to read through this, and I feel that you did a great job. I think it covered everything that we were talking about. We did put our points in here, and they were addressed.
Okay.
So I feel comfortable approving it, and I would like to get a motion from the board to go ahead and approve it so that we can submit it to council.
I just got this today, and so I'd like to sit with it a little longer. I don't know that I'm going to need
Okay.
a whole month,
I didn't realize that you just got it today.
but I just got it today.
Okay. So then, why don't we just put it off to our next meeting? And that will give you a chance to review it.
I would appreciate that, but I also have another kind of more general thought. And imposing these fines on property management companies, that's a big deal to property management companies. And are we just going to roll this out? Is there going to be, and I don't know what the process is for changing an ordinance, but I would think that property management companies might just have something to say about this new exposure.
Of course, and remember, we're not rolling anything out. We're taking this to the council to have them to review it as well. They very well may come back with something like that as well. But, as we go through these sessions that we have with people coming in and appealing violations, we have to somehow look at how the rental companies are involved in these violations as well. Because if we don't, then we're just going down the same road as we've been in the past. We're just giving the violation to the homeowner, even though they've put their trust and the responsibility of maintaining this property in the hands of a company that they're paying a service for. And if they make the mistake, there's no consequences. So we're trying to create something where maybe these fines, Chair Parker and I spoke about this before, it might be a pushback from the rental companies, but we also might be able to open up some sort of discussion on how we can somehow make them somewhat responsible for, and that's why we said in the notes here that if a rental company is taking on a client, they have to make sure that they have a copy of the rental permit in their hands before they can do any type of advertising. So we're trying to create some avenues there. So again, the fines might not be something that we can deal with, but we can maybe require that.
Well, I certainly support it. I just want to make sure, and maybe I'm just,
No, I think that sounds good.
No, it's a good point.
yeah, I just think it's something to be aware of, and certainly the council will give it thought, so. But no, thank you again and council also, thank you for putting this together. But I would like a little more time to look at it, so.
Sure.
Abe, are you okay with that? If we wait and then we'll give the thumbs up next meeting?
Yes, it's up
Okay.
to the board.
Patrick, can I put you on the spot for a second? So I know you've seen our recommendation relative to the property management. Maybe it'll help us understand better if we know from your perspective how that would be, like how would you see implementing something like that?
Yes, Vice Chair, thank you for the question. So are you asking with respect to how the ordinance would kind of play out as far as being adopted, or how someone like an agency would have the opportunity to comment on such proposed changes? Unless I misunderstood your
I
question.
guess it was more like, let's assume that the city council approves this, the way that it's currently written. And so now any property management company that manages a rental without a valid current registration, then they're going to be subject to fine. So, I mean, I guess I'm asking, is it going to be a headache for you guys to implement it, and then how you would go about doing it?
Yeah, I mean, when there's a violation, since this would not most likely be a registered agency with the city, the first thing our code compliance team would need to do is somehow identify who this agency is, who is the citation going to be issued to, the company and such like that. So that might bring challenges as far as identifying who is responsible for the violation as such. But it would follow the same process as we do with any other violation, is we identify a responsible person, responsible entity, and then we issue a citation from there. It's
Okay.
just first identifying who that would be and going from that point.
So today in your database, you don't have knowledge of which vacation rentals are operated by a management company versus the owner, right?
We do, actually, in our logs, we do have a database of which properties are what we consider owner-managed and
Okay.
which properties are considered agency-managed. This is outside of property-managed, though, so there's kind of three types of things we see here in the city. Is owner-managed is simple. The owner is responsible for operating. They're doing all the bookings, submitting the transient tax. There's an agency portion of it where an agency enters into an exclusive listing arrangement with such owner, and they have the authority to secure such registration certificate on behalf of the owner. They collect and remit the tax on behalf of the owner. And then there's property managers that kind of are in between. Some might collect and remit the tax on behalf of the owner. For the owner, though, that is under the owner's tax permit. And we have property managers that might just simply advertise and help check in, but they're not, they don't have like an exclusive listing arrangement with the owner. So that's still the owner's tax permit, the owner's certificate, where the agency has their own tax permit, tax certificate, and then they submit the taxes under their company name. But a property manager is just more of a support to the property owner themselves.
Okay, so would it be possible if let's assume this was approved, would it be possible to, I don't know, do a mailing out to the ones that you know are agency managed and not owner managed to say, hey, this has gone into effect, FYI?
Yeah, of course, we maintain
Okay.
a contact list of all agencies too, and I know, maybe to help further clarify on the point of the compliance too, code supervisor might have a little bit more input about how an investigation would start and provide that part of it.
Sure. So yeah, expanding on what Patrick had said and relating it to some instances that we've had before the board in the past, where for a registered vacation rental property that was agency managed, but that agency kind of ran afoul with some administrative tasks that resulted in that property owner having violations observed and infractions attributed to them and their rental permit being suspended. So that would be easy to apply your recommendation of determining who the responsible person is that the enforcement action should be taken on and kind of absolve the property owner from that. So in an instance where there was an agency-run property that was advertising two properties as a cluster compound, right? So that was a registered vacation rental. The homeowner had an agency agreement where a registered agency with our city was promoting their interest in that property, but ultimately was doing it in a way that was in violation of our ordinance. And so ultimately the enforcement action that was taken was assessed to the property owner, the vacation rental certificate holder, because our current ordinance and how these infractions are assessed, with it being strict liability, is that the owner is ultimately responsible for it. And so in that case, based off this recommendation, if there were a change to the ordinance that allowed enforcement to occur on the agent of record or the agency that is responsibility of it, we could then, place that responsibility on the agency and penalize them, and maybe give that owner an opportunity to modify their agreement, come up with a new agent, and continue operating their vacation rental property. The other instance that we've seen is when there's an unregistered rental property, and they have hired somebody who may or may not be registered with the city, but is serving as their agent, and then they are operating, that property in violation. That one would be a little bit more difficult. If they're found in violation, we would ultimately issue the citation to the property owner on title. However, if they were to engage with us and supply us with sufficient evidence to support the fact that they had entered into an agreement with another entity to represent their interest in that property, and then they kind of ran afoul and you know, and again, we've done that in the past when there's been some issues with folks who have signed a residential lease with a property and then, you know, sublet it in an unauthorized manner on Airbnb, and were ultimately caught doing that. We would, you know, we have had instances where we had sufficient evidence supplied to us where we then reassess that citation to that individual who we were able to confirm was essentially the responsible party. And so in those cases of the unregistered rental, with this recommendation, you know, again, I think it would still be the situation where we would need to have sufficient evidence to support factually that, you know, the owner truly is absolved from how that property was being run. And because again, the penalty with permanent ineligibility, that's what we see a lot, is that is detrimental to some folks who have purchased these homes. And oftentimes when that portion of the administrative penalties comes down, they end up selling the property because it's part of their that was part of their understanding of purchasing the house, that they were going to use that to support paying the mortgage. And so that in that instance, it would be a little bit more work on the investigating officer to kind of compile that supporting documentation. And again, you know, if there are cases where there aren't legal documents that can be shared, or there's just, I had like a handshake agreement, or, well, he's my buddy and he was running it. In those cases, I don't know that we would still reassess the responsibility of that administrative action to that person, and we would likely keep it with the property owner.
Right. I would think so too. And I'm thinking about our situation today with a sister-in-law who who apparently has access to the website and can change it. And I mean, where do you draw these lines sometimes? And I think that might be a challenge, not just in drafting changes to the ordinance, but in applying whatever language we end up with. I do have one question for council. As I'm looking at this in 525.090, Abe, individual property management companies. I don't know what an individual property management company is. And later on in the ordinance, we talk about property management companies. What's an individual property management company?
Got it. Understood. I think we can clarify that.
Okay, because I was confused by that. That's all I have for the moment, but, well, this has been helpful.
I'm just going to make one comment, because that covers it if we catch. We've been going back and forth.
Turn your mic on.
Sorry, turned it off for a second. I've been on this board for over 2 years now, and we've been trying to address this issue with short-term rentals and management companies that have been involved. So I think this is a moving piece. It's never going to, as you mentioned, you just pulled out something that needs to be updated as well. I think our goal right now is to start something with the city council so that we can get some sort of feedback, get feedback from the city as well. Because unless we put something down and give it to someone, we can't seem to, we can't solve this problem that we keep having every month. People coming in and getting violations for something, and they're saying, well, my management company handled it, and you know, and the management company walks away, and we just can't have management companies running properties and creating violations without being somehow held responsible. And so I think by putting this document together, eventually we'll figure out how we can incorporate that and make everyone kind of happy, in the sense that if you're self-managing, that you have a sense of responsibility. If you're hiring someone, you're paying someone to manage the property, then there's a sense of responsibility on this, and that we don't have to deal with this every month when we have someone coming in saying, I didn't know what my sister was doing or my management company was doing. And so for me, it's just, I feel we've got to put something down
And,
there
and it
and
is.
get it going.
And it's absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that, and I don't want to be in the weeds too much too soon. But certainly the concept is worth putting forward. Yep.
And you, like I said, it's a moving piece. It's just not going to stop.
Got it.
So until we get to something, and even then, when we get to something, we're going to end up by probably fixing it again.
Maybe.
Okay, so let's go on to the next part, and this time is set aside for the city attorney to update us on the board, important matters initiated by the staff or previously requested by the board. So, city council, do you have anything?
Chair, I just want to clarify, there was no motion on the previous item, right?
I'm sorry.
Would you like to direct staff to
Yes.
bring it back to the next meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to,
I'll move that we move this agenda item to next month's meeting to give us a little more time to further digest it, and then we can go from there.
great, can I get a
One
second?
motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Board secretary?
Board Member Hein. Board Member Corrin. For the record, Board Member Corrin stepped out and left the room at 6:21 PM. Vice Chair Parker.
Aye.
Chair Basili.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Okay, thank you for catching that. Now, the city council, if you wouldn't mind.
But no further updates at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your work on that, by the way. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. Okay, looks like board, could we just get the next meeting, please?
Yes,
City
just
clerk comments?
for the record, did you have any board member comments in addition to the comments made to the ordinance amendment? I think we skipped it.
Just skip that item, yeah.
Oh,
Board
sorry.
member comments. I don't have any.
Any comments? Okay, none,
Okay.
thanks.
The next meeting will be held on May 21st, 2025 in the large conference room at 5:30 PM. There is no meeting in April.
Oh.
Okay,
Excellent.
all right, the time is 6:31 and we're going to enjoy the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff, and